Hello and welcome to another edition of the Full Force News Burst, brought to you by GeneralsJoes.com, with me as your host, Chris Multimedia McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80. Joining me today to discuss the news that Hasbro is developing a theatrical production studio for animation is Justin Lawnmower Man Bell. So without further ado, that makes no sense to anybody but us. Let's get stuck into this news burst. Earlier today, HissTank reported that Hasbro are currently developing a possible site in Ireland for a fully fledged theatrical production studio for animation. Together with Boulder Media Limited, who were acquired by Hasbro in July of 2016, this independent production studio would be truly unique with an academic facility, standout identity, and worldwide appeal. Hollywood production would truly be happening in the centre of Dunleary with regularity. It would house 650 staff members, roughly half the size of Pixar, with the plan to use the studio for a number of theatrical movies on a long-term repeating cycle. Transformers, My Little Pony, G.I. Joe and Power Rangers would get the initial focus. However, the site in question, an old Stena Line terminal which has been unused since 2015, has already hit a snag. The local Dunleary Council has declined them permission to use the old facility, but according to the Irish Times article the information appeared in initially, that could change in the future, as it was only a joint expression of interest that was submitted by Hasbro and Boulder Media in the first place. Justin, thoughts on this development? Positive move with the G.I. Joe brand being touted?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it's definitely, anytime you talk about animation and G.I. Joe, I think it's a good thing. I'm a little confused about the terminology, theatrical, considering they're already in production of some live action movies, but I think anytime they mention that specific brand with this kind of media, it's only a good thing. I guess my only question is, I'm reading the article on the Irish Times now. Do they mention G.I. Joe specifically in that article?
No, that article was literally just about the fact that Hasbro and Boulder Media had approached the Dunleary Area Council, I suppose, with this kind of statement of interest.
Yeah, because I would just be careful. I know HissTank claims G.I. Joe is one of their top focuses, but I'm not sure where that information comes from. So, maybe they know something we don't. But, hopefully G.I. Joe is kind of, going to be one of their focuses as they use the studio for something. The comparison to Pixar and the use of the term theatrical is kind of strange and makes me think that perhaps this is for other media, like, where G.I. Joe might be focused on a live action movie. Maybe this would be something for My Little Pony or something like that. Not to say it wouldn't be used for G.I. Joe at some point, especially if it's a full studio being built devoted just to animation. Hasbro would be foolish not to capitalize on all their brands, but I'm not entirely sure how they would use this.
Yeah, I suppose in a way I've kind of developed this story in a way, or speculated this story in a way to kind of veer it towards G.I. Joe, but sure, yeah. Really it's just the fact that Hasbro actually own that as a brand, and obviously by doing this, G.I. Joe is kind of related in some way, shape or form, and especially with the film around the corner. That was going to lead to one of my questions for you, which would be, could you see animated media as backup to the Snake Eyes movie? Definitely.
Yeah, I think that's a definite possibility. It's been kind of a formula going forward, for a while now, where Transformers, there was Transformers, the movies, and then there was, Transformers Prime, which was kind of sort of in the vein of the movies, but not really. And of course, G.I. Joe Renegades, hit along, pretty close to, G.I. Joe Retaliation. But unfortunately, I'm not sure that necessarily helped G.I. Joe Renegades. But yeah, I think, there is certainly a conscious effort to pair theatrical releases with animation.
I can see this working really well with Transformers. I could see it working. Obviously, they've got the Micronauts animated, I suppose. I'm not sure if it's a feature-length film or if it's a series. I don't think we know much about anything of that at the moment, but that's in the works as well at Boulder Media. All of these things kind of make a lot of sense that they're happening. You've got a Micronauts movie that's being talked about in 2020. You've got the G.I. Joe film kind of coming up as well. And I suppose for me, if you're tying in animated media with all of those different things, G.I. Joe kind of has to be in the conversation, especially if it's having that live action film, around the corner as well. I say around the corner.
It's a very long, large corner, but it's, but yeah, no, I think what you're saying is totally makes sense. Yeah, obviously G.I. Joe is an in-house brand. It's going to be something that they focus on with this studio, just kind of how that shapes out. I'm not entirely sure, but Hasbro has said forever that they need to develop their in-house IP. I mean, as for whatever product they sell for Power Rangers or Star Wars or Marvel, they have to carve some of that out for licensing, so it's just not as profitable for them. So just by its essence, an in-house brand, if they can somehow leverage that into worldwide success, it's only better for them.
Oh, well, you can take Power Rangers off that list now because they own that outright now, don't they?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Amazingly. Yeah, so, okay, in relation to the Snake Eyes movie and the G.I. Joe brand in this particular capacity, what would you like to see them do with it? I mean, would you go for like a retro style animation, an update to this in the same vein as, say, Resolute Renegades, or something wildly different for a new audience? What would you like to see?
What would I like to see versus what do I think they should do?
Yeah, let's go with what you'd like to see first.
What I'd like to see is, old school would be great. I would love to see kind of in a perfect world to me. I mean, would it be, I don't think this is probably not even going to make sense, but could they somehow combine, Sigma 6 and Renegades and Resolute into one sort of feature that's got, the design aesthetics of Resolute, but, kind of the new mythology of Sigma 6, yet the kind of the writing and the dialogue and kind of the overarching background of Renegades. That'd be a really cool kind of triumvirate of projects, and that'd probably be my, the holy grail of G.I. Joe to me would be that kind of scenario where it's a little bit new, a little bit old school, with some obvious, effort and design and execution.
That's an impressive and also very complex idea they've got to work on now. In terms of what you expect to see then, just kind of like lining up nicely with the Snake Eyes film, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I would think so. And I'd have to, I'd just be curious kind of how they did that, because obviously and we of course don't know how they're going to do the film yet either, so besides the fact that it's going to be some kind of homage to a 70s kung fu sort of thing. But I mean, you would still think whatever animation is coming out, it's still going to be geared towards a younger audience, so it's still going to be kind of softened up compared to even a PG-13 movie.
Yeah.
And how they would leverage a character like Snake Eyes, who doesn't talk and who is who's best known assets or how violently he can kill people, how they would take that and translate that to a younger audience, that would be kind of challenging. And that's one of the things where I think Renegades actually did really well was, and to a point, even though the Sigma 6 cartoon is absolutely horrific, they kind of did that as well, where they took the core and kind of the essence of Snake Eyes and didn't soften him up too much, but still made him approachable to a younger audience. And I think that there's a better capacity these days to do something like that than there was, 30 or 40 years ago.
Yeah. Because
we've seen a lot of that. I mean, we've seen, X-Men cartoons with Wolverine where, they're able to kind of walk that line. We've seen all sorts of examples in the last 10, 15 years or so where they have been able to better treat some of those more hard-edged characters without completely, solving them up, but also making them a little bit more open and accessible.
I mean, even Deadpool's getting that kind of thing as well, isn't it? I mean, I could see them definitely going down the route of, like a Marvel idea and having like a team that Snake Eyes is in and around, just like Renegades was. So he doesn't talk, but he's got plenty of people around him that do, or do the talking for him. So, I always think that there's always an opportunity to, if he's going to be the main character, that he can still operate as the main character with other people around him.
Yeah, and who knows, it might get spun into some kind of, Arashikage type of thing where it's like Snake Eyes and Jinx and Kamakura and whatever against Storm and Scarlet, maybe against Storm Shadow, and who knows what they're going to do. It's the world feels a little wide open at the moment, which is a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, it's a good thing because there's all sorts of great potential, and it's really fun to speculate about stuff like that. Bad thing just because you don't know what's coming.
Cool, man. Well, one last thing. Do you expect to see a Hasbro water park pop up in Ireland now?
Sure, why not?
That could be next door, actually, and they could bolt all of the crew, all of the 650 employees could play in the water park. Anyway, Justin, thank you for jumping on to chat about that little development. Really appreciate it.
Not a problem. My pleasure.
Whatever. You can get back to mowing your lawn now.
Good times.
I'm going to flash that image up. I'm flashing that image up that you sent me. Don't worry, it's PG-13. That's...
You don't know. You can't tell from that angle if I'm wearing pants or not. My neighbors really hate it when I mow the lawn, I'll tell you that much.
I can guess. I bet the insurance premiums are skyrocket.
Property values just go...
You plummet. That's it for this instalment of the Full Force News Burst. Thank you to my awesome naked co-host Justin Bell. See you next time, and as always, Full Force. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @The Full Force, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/The Full Force, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback or questions. We have also started a Patreon page, so if you want to see your name up in lights on these videos or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/The Full Force Podcast, or click the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.